you, Stephanie. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. And if you're watching this video later that they're going to post on YouTube, hello, greetings. So my name is Rhoda from the Financial Aid Office here at Dominguez Hills. I like to help out with this program. They invite me every term when they're trying to provide some financial aid information for our returning Toros. Okay, so we're going to get into this session, and this is about how to finance your education at Dominguez Hills now that you're trying to come back, right? And sometimes we know there's some questions, some anxiety, like, oh, maybe it's been a couple of semesters or a couple of years. I don't remember how to apply. Some things have changed. My grades were this way or that way, right? Do I have remaining eligibility? Lots of different questions, right? So we're just going to jump right into that, okay? Okay. So a couple of quick bullet points, just what are the steps to apply now, right? And then once you apply, what can you expect from us, right? What are you going to get as far as communication from our office, right? And then how does that work as far as the types of aid, the dollar amounts, et cetera, the costs. So we're going to talk about that. Is also the types of financial aid, sorry, and what's available, what's the difference between these different types of aid. Okay, so let's just start with how to apply. Got Teddy Toro here. So the applications are the same. So we still have the FAFSA or the CADA. So this is step number one. So you're going to want to make sure you do your application. The FAFSA is for anyone who's a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen, right? And you can apply at FAFSA.gov or studentaid.gov. Each will get you to the place you need to be for the FAFSA. For the Cal Dream Act application, this is for anyone who's undocumented and they meet the AB 540 criteria, and you're going to go to dream.csac.ca.gov. Now, this is important. So right now, the 2026 application is open. And this would apply to you if you're trying to return to Dominguez Hills for either fall 2025, spring 2026. It's also will cover summer 2026 because we fund summer as a trailer to the academic year. Now, the priority filing period is usually October 1st through March 2nd. This year was March 3rd, but they've actually, based on the fires and whatnot, that recently we've extended that deadline date to April 2nd. Okay. So you do want to try to apply by April 2nd. I would try to meet that March deadline date, even if you're thinking about it. So even if you haven't really landed on, oh, I'm going to come for fall or spring, right? And you're going to be working with Sabrina and the team on that, still get your financial aid application submitted just in case, right? So that's already in. A special note for anyone who's trying to do the Cal Dream Act application. We just want to let you know that the CADA is used to determine eligibility for state aid. This information is not shared with the federal government or used for any immigration enforcement. Okay, it's just all in-house. Also, remember that you have to reapply. So no matter which application applies to you, the FAFSA or the CADA, just remember you have to reapply for each new academic year, right? So you're not just applying one time. Let's say you have 2 years to go. You're just not going to do the one application. You're actually going to be doing two. You're going to do the 25-26 application, and then later this year in October, you're going to do the 2026-27 application. So you always have to reapply each year until you graduate. Also, last year, the last bullet, the priority filing period is usually October 1st through March 2nd, unless otherwise stated. So like this extension through April 2nd is an exception, right? But it's normally October 1st through March 2nd. This year, because March 2nd falls on a Sunday, the deadline date was March 3rd, but then they pushed it back. But just always remember October through March when it comes to applying. Right. Some of the common questions, and I know when some folks registered, they posed some questions for financial aid and the admission side, and I responded to them directly. But just a couple of common questions that we usually get. Should I complete the application? And I kind of already touched on that. But yes, you want to complete the application because if you don't, we can't even consider you for aid, right? We can't consider you for state aid or federal aid, and in some cases, the institutional aid that we have available without having an application on file. So, when in doubt, always complete an application. Okay. Sometimes students are asking us, well, how long is it going to take? I don't have that much time, or they might have some anxiety about completing the application. Usually, the way it's been changed now, it'll take you less than an hour. In most instances that we've encountered, perhaps 20 to 30 minutes or even less. Uh, I was been helping students, and I helped a couple of family members. Took us about 15 minutes, so it's not going to take you a long time in most cases. Some other common questions: what will you need? Well, for the 2025-26 application, if you're going to be doing the FAFSA application, you have to have what's called an FSA ID username and password. This is going to be for all the contributors, whether it's the applicant, parent, or spouse. Okay. If you forgot your FSA ID, there's a way for you to reset your username. I mean, your username and password. Okay, using your prior email address. But we can talk about that. Parent or spouse contributor name, date of birth, social security number, and email address. Okay. The parent or spouse will receive an email invitation to complete their section. Okay. So I'm not sure for those of you who are watching or watching this video later, how many years it's been since you've applied for financial aid, but this prior year, 2025, 26, 2024, 25, there were some changes made to the overall FAFSA. And so now, when you're completing your student section, in previous years, you had to do your parent or spouse section as well, right? All together. But now it's a process whereby if you're a student, right, and let's say you're a dependent student and your parent's going to have to do their section, you're going to do your section. Parent is going to receive an invitation to do theirs. So you're not going to be able to just to do theirs when you do yours. If you are married, um, uh, you're going to have to do if you and your spouse didn't file your taxes together, sometimes married persons file separately, your spouse is going to have to do his or her section. Okay, so we can get more into that, but the process has changed a little bit where each contributor has to have their own FSA ID, username, and password, and they're going to get an invitation to do their part. The income information that's being used is the 2023 income year for the FAFSA and the CODA. So we're always using the income from 2 years prior. Okay. So you want to have your tax return available, your W-2 earning statements, if that's applicable to you. Those are the basics. Here for the Cal Dream Act application for 25-26, a lot of the questions and everything is going to mirror the FAFSA. Um, for the CODA applicants, you don't have to have an FSA ID. Rather, you and or your parents, if this applies to you, you're just going to have a PIN. Okay. It's also going to be asking for income and asset information from the 2023 tax year. Okay, on the FAFSA side, federal student aid, they have some great YouTube videos, so I included that in this presentation. Um, and if you just go to their YouTube page, you'll see a variety of different videos, a lot of them describing how the process has changed, how to create an FSA user ID and password. There's lots of different videos. I will say, I don't think I included here, but also for CSAC, for the Cal Dream Act application, they have some videos as well. They have their own YouTube channel. Okay. All right. Now, before you apply, okay, 6 things that you will need to know. Okay, this is something from Federal Student Aid, FSA, Federal Student Aid, and I just included it here with the QR code because it's actually, if you're doing the FAFSA, this is actually a great page to go to. It's a great tool, a great resource. The 6 things that they discuss on this page is how to create your studentaid.gov account, or maybe you need to recreate it because you forgot it, right? Um, Contributor information, your and your contributor's federal income tax return, how it's accessible online, records for you and your contributors, records for you and your contributor assets, a list of schools that you may be interested in attending, but we hope you come right to Dominguez Hills. But it's a great resource. There's a video here on who is a contributor. So let me see if I could just play this for you. Here we go. Okay. So hopefully that was a useful video. I am really impressed, I must say, by federal student aid videos. There's a lot of good ones out there. They have a good team. They've been working on this for the last couple of years. Let's see, for who counts as a parent, don't know if anyone watching, if this is something that's needed by you. Again, if you're someone who's considered independent, it's just going to be your information and your spouse's information if you're married. Um, let's see, the students who may need to consider if they need to provide parent information is if you are under the age of 24, if you're not married, if you're not a veteran, if you don't have any children or dependents, you're not a homeless youth or at the risk of being homeless. There's a series of questions that you're asked. And if you're answering yes to any one of those questions, you're considered independent. No parent information is needed. But if you're answering no to all those questions, so you're not 24, you're not married, you're not a veteran, you don't have any kids, you're not an orphan awarded to court, you don't have any not at risk of being homeless or whatnot. So if you're answering no to all those questions, then yes, parent information is needed. And then sometimes students just like, well, this is my parent situation. My parents are living apart, or this parent paid more than this parent. Sometimes there's some questions. So you can use this tool to just determine which parent information you would need to use. Okay. Now, for everyone, if you're doing the FAFSA, so this is not the CADA, just the FAFSA, contributors, consent, and FTI or federal tax information. So as we just saw in the video, it's describing who the contributors are, right? So everyone who is going to put in their information is considered a contributor. Okay. Each contributor is going to need their own FSA ID, username, and password. You can create it at studentaid.gov. And here's the thing, why is this such a big deal with contributors? Well, contributors now have to give consent. That's the new term, consent to have their federal tax information or FTI transferred from the IRS. Okay. If consent, let's go through these bullet points. If consent is not provided, the FAFSA is not going to be processed, right? If income taxes were not filed, that's okay, because sometimes students or parents are like, well, I didn't file taxes. That's okay. It'll still transfer over and it'll just reflect that you didn't file. It'll reflect that you're a non-filer, right? If there's no FTI transfer, there's no FTI transfer for the CADA application. Therefore, you're going to have to enter your income information manually. So if you file taxes for 2023, just make sure you have the tax forms with you so that you can fill it out as you go. Okay. Lastly, this is an important bullet. If there's a dependent applicant who's unable to provide their parent information, just contact us, okay, so that we can discuss it, okay, and we can guide you further. Okay, unusual circumstances, because sometimes this comes up. Teddy helping us out. So, what are some examples of unusual circumstances and what are they? So, unusual circumstances are any conditions that justify an aid administrator like me, right, making an adjustment to the student status based on any sort of unique situation or extenuating circumstances. So there's three examples here. In some cases, it might be a dependency override due to parent abandonment, or the contact with the parent can pose a risk, not allowed for students who moved out, whose parents don't want to provide information. Sometimes we get that, right? They're just like, well, I live on my own, right? Or my parents are just refusing to provide information. Okay, if they're just refusing, that doesn't mean you're eligible for a dependency override. Um, but at the end of the day, decisions are made on a case by case basis. So you want to let us know so we can talk to you about it and to determine if you would meet any of the conditions for a dependency override. Loss or reduction of income can also be an unusual circumstance. So remember I was saying a few short slides ago that we're going to be using 2023 earnings. Well, sometimes applicants and or their parents will say, well, these were my earnings in 2023, but now things have changed. I've switched jobs. I'm working less. I got laid off, whatever the situation is, right? So if there's a loss or reduction of income, we can do what's called an income adjustment appeal, and that's a process whereby you're going to submit the documentation to our office. Um, and I say usually this process will occur during the spring and summer months. So, like right now, students are just submitting their 2025-26 FAFSA application, right? We're pulling that documentation in. We're going to begin our awarding process sometime in the month of March. But then over the course of the spring and the summer months, if there's been a reduction in income, that's when you're going to reach out to us or go to our website, and then you can start the income adjustment appeal process. Let's see, other unusual circumstances or special circumstances. If there could be a death or serious illness, there could be some other expenses that weren't included in the cost of attendance budget. Anything that you think might pertain to you, just reach out, call us. Even if you're just posing a question like, hey, I'm not sure if this would apply to me or if this is something that the financial aid office could even assist me with by reevaluating my aid eligibility. Let us be the determiners of that. Just call and tell us or visit us. Okay. Right. Just a little bit more on the dependency override process in case anyone watching this might pertain to you. So, starting with the 2024-25 aid year, any initial or renewal applicants who indicated they have unusual circumstances on their FAFSA, they'll be considered what's called a provisional independent. So you'll still be able to submit your FAFSA, right? It'll go through, but you'll be provisional. So it won't quite yet be official. But this will allow you to be able to receive what's called your Student Aid Index Number, SAI, formerly EFC, Expected Family Contribution. So now we've had a change of name. And you can get the SAI and an estimate of what your aid eligibility might be, right? But then the second bullet here, once a determination has been made, so let's say you apply for a dependency override and it is approved for 2025-26, that dependency override is going to be valid for every year thereafter. So let's say you're going to be coming back, it's going to take you 2 more years. So you're going to be doing your 25-26 application, and then later this year, your 26-27, you got a dependency override approval. You're not going to have to reapply for it again, right? You'll just be eligible for it to have it renewed for 2026-27. So that's a bit of a change. Okay. Right. So what are the current costs? Because also you might be saying, okay, this is all good information, appreciate that, but now let's get to the money part, right? So how much are the costs? So currently, Okay, there's a QR code. This is what we're looking at for tuition and fees for last fall and spring, which we're currently in. So tuition and fees is either a part-time fee or full-time fee. So it's the tuition is 1764, whether it was fall or spring, and then full-time fee for 6 or more units is 3042. Okay. Campus fees will change each year. Um, but this is where we're at. So all told, let's say someone was full-time for fall and then they were full-time for spring, looking at roughly a little bit more than $7,400 for the year, 7453 um, for tuition and fees. Now, I decided to put this slide in here for you because for the Cal State University system, the future tuition for 2025-26 through 2028-29, it's going to be inching up a little bit each year, right? So I'm giving you the QR code for the basic system-wide tuition amount. You can check that out. And there's a huge chart there for undergraduates, credential, graduate, and doctoral program students. So I'm presuming that those watching, you're trying to come back to complete your undergraduate degree, your first bachelor's. So this is just letting you know that the tuition fees will increase, okay, each year, okay, until 2028-29. It's just going up about $400, give or take, when you do the math on it. It's important to know that these amounts do not include the campus mandatory fees. What are those, right? Campus mandatory fees are the fees that a campus can charge for the student health center, student activities, the student union, the other um, fees to help our campus run, right? So this chart right here, these dollar amounts are just tuition and it applies to all 23 campuses, but it doesn't include the campus fees or any other expenses like food or housing. So those are other additional things you'll have to budget for. I also will say this last bullet is important for any of you who are eligible for a Cal grant or a state university grant. These grant awards, the dollar amount for these will also increase as the tuition increases. So let's say you're eligible for a state university grant when you return. The state university grant covers tuition. So it would cover the 6450. For 26-27, it will cover the 6838. Okay. So just throwing that in there because sometimes students, when they see, oh, there's an increase, right? But if you have other sort of financial aid funds, especially the state aid funds, those will usually increase in addition to the tuition to coincide with that and to make up for it. Okay. So let's say you've applied, okay, know the cost, you're ready to return. What can you expect after you submit your applications? Okay, so starting first with the FAFSA, what does the process look like? So once you create your student aid ID, studentaid.gov accounts, right? Or maybe you have it, right? So you complete your application. So the student completes their section. They're going to provide their parent info if that applies to you. The email invitation is sent to your parent or in some cases the spouse, right? That parent or spouse is going to accept their invitation, then they're going to complete their section. And every step along the way, you can track your progress. Now, if you're someone who doesn't have a parent or spouse, it's just you, right? As soon as you submit your application and it goes through, then you're done. Okay. What does the process look like for a CAUTA applicant? So you're going to go to dream.csac.ca.gov, create your username and password, unless you already have one, or your PIN number per se. The student applicants are going to complete their section. There's no cross check with any other entity, like what happens with the FAFSA, right? So you want to make sure you put in all your information. And then if you're in a situation where your parent has to do their section, they're going to do their section. And then you guys are going to sign and submit. Okay. Now, what happens at our level? So after you've submitted your applications, right, then we're going to get that information, right? Every school that you list will on your application will receive it electronically. So we'll get it. We will also send you out an acknowledgement. It'll just be a brief message that says, hey, just want to let you know we received your 2025-26 financial aid application, whichever one that was for you, FOSFA or CAUTA. So we will send you an email acknowledgement, and then we'll go through our review process to determine your aid eligibility. So if additional documents are needed, what will happen is that'll appear on your to-do list when you're logged into your Dominguez Sales portal. We'll also send you an email. The email's not going to be specific, right? It's not going to say, hey, we need this from Sabrina, right? Or we need this from Stephanie. It's just going to say, hey, Stephanie, and I'm picking on you, Stephanie, because your picture. It's going to say, hey, Stephanie, we need something from you. Please log in and check your to-do list, right? So it's just going to let you know. Financial aid offers, we usually try to begin them in the spring between January and May. So we're on track to start in fall. I mean, sorry, next month in March. So knock on wood, and I'm knocking, right? Everything's going to run smoothly. And it'll just, the email is going to just advise you to log into your My CSUDH campus portal. You're going to go to the View Financial Aid link to see what your aid offer is. Okay, so everything is online if you haven't gathered, right? We're not sending anything via mail. Okay, so how do we send the offer notifications? So again, everything is via email. And notice it goes to your Dominguez Hills, your CSUDH email account. We're not sending anything to your personal email. So one of the things that you want to do that I'm pretty sure Sabrina and Isabel and Stephanie will guide you through, you want to make sure you activate your email, your Toro email. Um, Usually we send out estimates or actual offers, but I believe with our director now, we may not have a lot of estimates. It may be a lot of actual offers for students, okay? But if you do happen to get an offer that's estimated, that's provisional, it's not eligible for the disbursement of funds. At the end of the day, everyone wants to have an actual offer. And you might be watching this and saying, well, hey, Rhoda, how will we know the difference, right? The difference is if it's an estimated offer, it'll say estimated, okay? Once it's actual, it doesn't say actual, it's just the estimate falls off. So if you're offered a Cal grant, right, it'll just going to say Cal grant. If you're offered a Pell grant, Pell grant. You're going to be offered a direct loan. It's not going to say estimated Cal grant, estimated Pell grant, right? The estimated will be there if it's an actual award. So types of aid, great little segue. So what are the types of aid that are available? You may somewhat be familiar. If anyone is a transfer student, I don't think this applies, but I'd like to put it in there for our Cal Grant coordinator. Well, two things. If you're coming from a community college where you're transferring in some units as you return, there's no fee waiver, so there's no California Promise Grant. Okay. And then we get into the different categories of aid. So there are 5 types. There's federal, there's state grants, there's scholarships, federal loans and work study. Really don't have the time to get into all of the nuanced details of all the different types of aid. So you have the QR code here for our types of aid page. And just know that anything that has grants tied to it, Cal grant, Pell grant, State University grant, anything that's a grant is free money that doesn't have to be repaid. Anything that has scholarship tied to it, free money that doesn't have to be repaid. Work study or funds that you earn through part-time employment. Loans, okay, if you receive a direct loan, direct subsidized or unsubsidized loan, you decide to borrow it, it must be repaid after you graduate, you leave school, or you drop below part-time enrollment, whichever one occurs first. Okay. When it comes to the state grant programs, so I was mentioning earlier about Cal Grant and State University Grant. So just know that these are funds that pay for tuition. Remember, I showed you that chart a few slides ago and how the tuition is going to be increasing up through 2028, 29. Well, if you're eligible for a Cal Grant or State University Grant, when you return, you apply, those grants will increase as well. Just know that the Cal Grant A and B pays for tuition only. Cal Grant B can also offer a stipend for books and supplies. Your years of eligibility is limited though, right? So if you're coming in and you're returning as a junior, maybe it's your first year getting the Cal Grant as a junior, you just have 2 years of eligibility, junior, senior. If you're returning, but maybe you had already exhausted your Cal Grant benefits, then you're not getting a Cal Grant. But it doesn't mean that you wouldn't be eligible for a state university grant. So this is another type of grant. This is a CSU grant, state university grant, also for tuition only. Applicants can't get both. You're usually getting one or the other. Okay, Cal grant or state university grant because they pay the same thing. The grant recipients have to be enrolled at least part-time, 6 units. This is for either or. The grant's going to pay for that part-time or full-time fee, which right now sits at 1764 and 3042, but of course next year is going to go up a bit. Okay. Um, and the Cal Grant funds are prorated based on less than full-time enrollment. So the Cal Grant has a chart. So let's say you're in 9 units. Okay. Then you're going to get like 75% of the money, right? It's not like a straight 1764 and 3042 the way the state university grant works. So a little bit of a different pay structure for the Cal Grant. Okay. This is one of the slides I mentioned that our Cal Grant coordinator likes me to include just in case, right? So for Cal Grant applicants, there's a way for you to monitor your status, where you stand with the California Student Aid Commission. You're going to go to mygrantinfo.csac.ca.gov. When you go there, you're going to log into Web Grants for Students. You want to make sure you confirm your school, Dominguez Hills, right? You're going to look for step number 2, look for anything that you might need to certify, right? Don't know what that may be. And it's doesn't mean it applies to everyone, but you just want to look to see if the California Student Aid Commission wants you to self-certify anything. What are some of the things that you might see? School confirmation, transfer entitlement, or this is common, student with dependents, SWD grant. That's an extra grant that students with dependents can receive. All right, so some other types of aid that's available. So we still have the Pell Grant program. That's changed a little bit since last year. So now we have this new term, Pell Enrollment Intensity, or PEI, on how the Pell Grant funds are paid out. Um, with the Pell Enrollment Intensity, so you just take the number of units that you're enrolled in, you're going to divide it by 12, and that's going to give us the percentage as to how we're going to pay out the Pell Grant. So if your Pell Grant is $3,600, of course, if you're in 12 units, 12 of 12, 100, you get 100% of the money. You might be in 13 units or 15 units. You're still just getting 100%. Okay. If you're in 10 or 7 units, right, it's 83% and 58% respectively. We multiply that by the award amount, and then you can get the dollar amount that you're eligible for. Okay. Pell Grant has a 6-year limit. So even if you're returning and you did not receive your Pell Grant, you did not reach that 6-year limit, you're still going to have some eligibility, right? And this is federal, so anyone who's receiving or completing the the CADA application, you're not eligible for Pell Grant funds. This is federal, so we're only going to be looking at state aid for the CADA applicants. Okay, loan types. So again, still on the federal side. So you have the federal direct subsidized and unsubsidized loans. The government is your lender. There's no credit check. You're just going to complete the FAFSA. If anyone is a dependent student, your parents will have an opportunity to borrow parent plus loan if they want it and if it's needed. It is based on credit, okay? And parents have to apply separately at studentaid.gov. For CADA applicants, we do have what's called a Cal Dream loan. Those dollars are limited, but if it's something that you think you might be interested in, just want to let us know, and we'll send a message to our Cal Grant coordinator so that she can work with you on that. And then, of course, there's always private educational loans through a bank lender. It's based on credit worthiness, and you apply separately. Okay. When it comes to the federal loans, you got subsidized, unsubsidized. Sometimes students always ask us, like, okay, I'm not quite sure the difference there. Right. All right. Subsidized loans, that's where the government pays interest while you're in school. You don't have to pay it back right away. Right. And as if you have a subsidized loan, the government's going to pay the interest while you're in school and during your grace period. So you don't have to go into repayment until 6 months after you graduate or you leave school. Okay. Same thing with the unsubsidized loan. You don't have to pay it back until 6 months after you graduate or leave school. But with the unsubsidized loan, the difference is the interest starts to accrue immediately once you get that first disbursement, and it doesn't stop till you've repaid the loan. So just like if you have a car note or a credit card or whatnot, or a mortgage, and the interest is accruing on that debt until you pay it down or completely pay it off, same concept, right? With the Cal Dream loans, these are also subsidized, so works akin to the subsidized loan on the federal side, but the state of California is paying the interest while you're in school and through the grace period. Okay. I will say for both the federal loans and the Cal Dream loan, you still have to be enrolled at least part-time 6 units, and loan funds are not prorated the way the grants are. So as long as you're in 6 units, whatever dollar amount you're borrowing that you're anticipating receiving for that term, you get that full amount. And speaking of the loan, I decided to put this in there just so that you have a little refresher, or just like sometimes just like students are, I'm not sure if I'm eligible or how much can I borrow, and I don't think I want to borrow that much. So there are limits. These are the annual limits based on grade level. I'm presuming that many of you might be juniors or seniors, right? Undergraduates. If someone is a dependent student, the maximum amount you can borrow for the year is 7,500. Okay. Independent students is 12,500. 5,500 of that is subsidized. Now, here's the thing. Even if we offer you a loan, you're not obligated to borrow. The loans are just a resource. You definitely want to tap into anything that's free first. The grants, um, any private scholarships that you may want to apply for, or institutional scholarships. The loans are just a resource that if you happen to need it, right, it'll be available to you. And sometimes with returning students, there's a concern that, oh, okay, yes, I borrowed when I was here last, right? I don't know if I have any remaining loan eligibility. So just keep in mind this little quick note, the aggregate borrowing limit for undergraduates is 57,500. So if you know as you monitor your loan history, you didn't borrow this amount, then yes, you're going to have some remaining eligibility. Okay. And then these are the annual loan limits based on your grade level. If you have any questions or concerns about it, just reach out to us. Okay. Um, Reach out to Sabrina, email me. She can send me a note, or you can call or visit us, and we'll help answer any questions you have if you have some concerns about loans. Let's see, some other financial aid resources that are available. There's EOP grants, SCOG grants, middle class scholarship. The amounts vary on the middle class scholarship, MCS. Anyone trying to return to complete their teaching certification. Teach grant applicants, you can be undergrad, credential students. I'm not sure about the master students, but there's a federal teach grant out there for you. There's institutional and private scholarships. I take that back. Yes, graduate students, if you're working on that, maybe qualify for the teach grant as well. But there's certain criteria for this one. Okay. Iraq, Afghanistan service grants, Parent Plus loans, that's just for dependent students, private educational loans, of course. More information on our webpage. Payment plans. So payment plans are available. Okay. You may be a financial aid applicant, and maybe the financial aid, let's say you're just going for grants and scholarships, you're not even trying to use loans, but that grant or scholarship money doesn't quite pay the full cost of your tuition and fees. But you don't want to borrow loans, but you want to pay the difference, but maybe you don't want to pay all of that at once. You can do a payment plan for the difference. Or if you decide, oh, I'm not going to apply for financial aid, I'm going to try to just pay out of pocket. Okay, that's purely your choice. Payment plans are available, and it just depends on the term that you're applying for. I'm giving you web the website and the QR code for Student Financial Services, because just depending on the term that you're trying to return for and attend, they're going to have their own payment plan structure for that term. Okay, so each semester it'll have a payment plan. So whether it's fall or whether it's spring or if it's summer. All right. And then now we're to our workshops page. So if any of you are considering um, returning for next year and you want some help completing your application. So we have workshops all this week. Okay. They're in person. And I don't know if you can make it. You want to check out our workshops page for continuing students. You can check out that link, and you'll see our remaining sessions for this week if you need help. Um, you can also, I will say, because many of you may be working, maybe you can't get out during the day for one of our sessions. Maybe you're at work or you're at home, you can't leave, and you're trying to in that moment complete your application and you have a question, just call us. Call us while you're logged into that site, whether it's on the FAFSA side or the Cal Dream Act side. And then maybe we can talk you through it or answer that question while you're on the phone with us while you're logged in. Okay? If you can't come to a session, that's fine. All right. Oh, that's it. We're done.
Okay, thank you so much, Rhoda, for that information. Was very thorough. Did we have any closing comments in the chat? I can't see.
I don't see anything in the chat.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you everyone for coming today and extending your time to us. Please help me in thanking our co-host, Rhoda, especially for being here today and taking the time to share this information.
Mhm.
And then also Isabel. If you have any questions that come up, again, you are more than welcome to send those in. You can also reach out to, I think, Isabel, you can put up the slide with our contact information.
Yeah,
Can they see that?
we actually,
I
someone
think
is
there's a
asking
question
in,
now.
yeah, for questions.
Oh,
So
we
I'm gonna
do.
go ahead. Yeah, let me stop recording so that they can ask away.